It's only just begun. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the round 14 player ratings video here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. It's the first time we're doing a player ratings video after a win with the new system. So that's exciting. We're excited to see everybody here and what they're about to experience. Pommy, you're with me. What up, mate?
Feels like a long time since we've done this, and pre-going live, we're not dreading the countdown getting to 0 and getting excited about going live. Bit of a different vibe.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm sore here from smiling.
Usually before we go live, me and Terry are dreading that countdown and going, oh God, we've got to talk about these guys again. But it was actually exciting to see it hit 0.
Yes, it was. It was. Big night tonight. Huge night tonight. I've got the ratings right now. Blue Broad Show next. Joe Adamo is going to join us for that. We've got the 10K giveaway. Entries close at 7 p.m. sharp. We're going to give away all of the good stuff. But I feel like the ratings are going to go for a little longer because it's a win and we want to talk a little bit more. And yeah, so it's interesting. Do you feel like, and this is for the chat at home, do you feel like because of a win, you get more of a grade, generally speaking, across the board? What's the situation?
Well, because this is totally impartial. So what we're looking here is you're going to think about the last couple of episodes. Pom telling you 5 is bad. We're looking for 6s. We're looking to try and get to that magical 6.5, which means you've done better than your output. I'm expecting to see where the last couple of weeks should be a good lesson when I always say, don't look at your elite players, look at your shit players. Because you'll start to see the load have been spread. So, but naturally, if you do something right, your scores will be better, to be honest. So,
right.
Get excited.
Get excited. I am excited. So those of you playing along at home, if you've been here for the year, you know how the play ratings now work. If you're new to the play ratings, what we're doing is this. We are grading the players from 0 to 10. And basically what we're doing is we're actually ranking them based on their performance and their output against players in the league in the same position. So rather than it being too much of our eye test, because in a win, everyone, you want to give 8s, 9s, and 10s, and in a loss, you want to give 0, 1s, and 2s. We want to standardize it, and we want to actually rank our players and see how they stack up against the competition average in each individual position with each individual role. So that's what we're going to do. What I'll do is I'll give you in the chat about 20 to 30 seconds to give your vote, 0 to 10 for each player as we go through. Then I will put up the player and their score, and we'll just see where the similarities are and if there's any major differences, and see how we go from there. Now, as always, Doing a Bit sponsors the player ratings videos every week, so be sure to check them out. We do the video edits every week on Instagram for them, and generally speaking, we're happy today. And I can see somebody's already noticed the change in photos behind you, Pom.
Hey, Luca. Hey, never lets me down. We've got Mr. Connors. So we're on the Cunningham train, and I couldn't get rid of Ollie Hollands because I made a promise when he did the pre-season draftee video with me. So I've tagged him along with Charlie. He's in good company. But I thought Connors, he gets his own photo. We could try and add another one with Connors in the next couple of weeks. We'll see who takes my heart.
All right. I like it. Now, first of all, that's going to be Jackson Binns. I'll give you a prediction. Now, let's go. We'll go with each player as they were named. First name, and again, I'll give you all... yeah, you can enter the competition. Here, let me give you the link. The link to the comp is in here.
While Terry does that, Jason, mate, I don't make stuff-ups. I don't make mistakes. I just make lessons I haven't learned yet. Hey, so don't worry. Never will stuff up the algorithm. I've done it before. Not this time.
All right. First name, Jacob Weitering. Chat, go for it. What did you rate him? Pom, a few words about Jacob. I think we're getting Jacob back. Our Jacob.
Mate, he was... I mean, Jacob is Jacob, isn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, he He only lost the one-on-one. That was it, which is pretty impressive because he was targeted a lot. In them inside 50s, he was the main target. He did impressive. Did all of his defensive work that you expect him to do. Was a little bit more of a free role for him this week, which is interesting. Kent was given the tough job of being the aggressor, and Jacob was back to what he does best. And this is what I say about Jacob. As much as we love Jacob, his best work is just being a defender. Mm-hmm. It's just being a defender. And that's why I love a small back line, because Weitering's got to just defend. And he made Ben King look like the shit brother, to be fair.
I thought he absolutely dominated him. Yeah. So let's have a look. 7.5. That is a really good score based on the system, isn't it?
Based on the system, it's very good. It's also worth noting as well that when you play one traditional toll, this rating usually gets a hammering. But all the numbers we'd expect based on his opposition as well and what his opposition polls, that's really, really impressive. And I would say he would have been about 6th or 7th in the coaches' votes. I'd imagine both coaches, if they had more than the votes they had, they would have had him in there. But he was very strong. Like, if you get beaten once, one-on-one as a key defender, you've done well.
All right. Brodie Kemp. A lot of good words said about Brodie Kemp. He is it one of those situations where it's like that's it. He's in the side for the rest of the year. Form, barring poor form and maybe he gets himself out, but he just looks to be getting more comfortable at the level every time he plays.
Led the ground in intercept possessions,
wow.
Crying out. This guy is spelling disaster for Mitch McGovern, because where Mitch McGovern is lacking, Kemp is in. Hopefully now he's underlined the end of the conversation of we drafted him as a midfielder. This is his best position. He is strong aerially. But I'll tell you what, he was in the coaches' votes, I noticed. You know what is upsetting, and no one will talk about it, but you want to see the big change around in Carlton. The two guys that played the medium-sized third guy, Kemp and Martin, are the massive points of difference here. Kemp dictated the way we move the ball out the back half of the ground, and you saw the difference between him and Young. He had, ironically, the same ball that Young has. This guy simply takes on dangerous kicks and takes the game on. And suddenly you saw the difference in how Carlton moved the ball. Impressive. I love Brodie Kemp. Yeah, I am in love.
It's a relief to see him start to, come out the other end. And also credit to the way that, we don't usually say credit to the development, but he's had to really do it the hard way. He's done the apprenticeship. So maybe this will be the beginning of the making of Brodie Kemp. So let me just reveal the score. 7.5. Again, very good grade. What was the one key performance indicator for him that he excelled in the most? What was it that really helped his score?
Intercepts, huge. Disposal, risk associated with disposal. You're also looking at a man that set up, like, you're talking top 2% score contributions from the back half. Like, you're talking what he did offensively in the back half of the ground is literally what people get excited about Tom Stewart. So I'm not saying he's Tom Stewart, don't come at me, but I'm saying that's what Tom Stewart's known for. His ability to turn you're in the shit to suddenly he turns it into something good.
I'm remembering our chat at Icon Park when we compared Liam Stocker to Luke Hall.
I didn't compare him to a great this time.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Nick Newman, back in the side. He's reliable for us. He is really reliable for us. He's become a really important key to what we do. And I think he allows a guy like Adam Saad to play in a different way.
Mate, spot on. And it's actually quite interesting this week that before we get on to Saad, Saad was in a more defensive role this week. Was a lot more defensive role, and we saw Newman take more of the roaming role defensively, where Saad was playing from deep. Spot on. He's just so consistent. His tackle pressure. This is what impresses me about Newman. His defensive numbers are insane.
Mm-hmm.
Always insane. And he stuck to what he knew this week. Stuck to what he knew, which last time we rated him, he was below par. This was a return to where he is, just stays, does his job, no frills, be boring.
7. Wow. Like it. I like it. Jordan Boyd was next. Jordan Boyd. How's he tracking, do you think?
This is a tough role. Him and Chincotta have got two roles that are very hard to analyse because they kind of are what you're looking for. Chincotta and Boyd 5.5s, because they're not given much opportunity to flourish. They're kind of half and half players. Boyd sacrifices his job a lot when Saad goes forward. He slots into that role along with Blake Acres, and they protect Saad so he can go a little bit higher up the ground. I'd love to see him get a bit more ball and be given that trust factor, which I'd imagine will come. There's a hierarchy there, but all in all, everything's just very good. Everything's AFL average, which is really impressive. And your backline, you want AFL average from these back pocket type players.
Okay. Let's have a look. Jordan Boyd, 5.5. So he's just, what do you want from a player every week? 6, right?
Well, 5.5 is
5.5
to 6 is your baseline. If you can get more people up to that 6.5, 7, we're now on the borderline of AFL elite. Once we get into the 8s, we're talking funky town type numbers. Yeah, you want him to be solid. And Boyd this week, he did a good negating job, but he also got involved. If he had that goal, that could have been huge. I love back pockets are a tough position. And you're basically looking for your most reliable players here, just reliable, steady players, and that's what Boyd does. That's
fair. The next gentleman on the agenda is Adam Saad. Alhamdulillah, Adam Saad, mate. He's just got all the tools, doesn't he? Chat, what did you think of Adam Saad? Pommy? You did mention just now, a bit of a defensively focused game this week.
Interesting enough, Saad was probably the one who sacrificed his game most. And I'd like to give him a little bit more if I could, but we're doing this as a general rule. But there was a couple of times that, interesting enough, he had 3 one-on-ones. One of them being he took himself and he actually beat Levi Casbolt. So he came off his man, saw Levi was one-on-one and got there. And that, you don't get stats for that. You should do, though. You should do. But Saad, what you expect, real strong defensively. He roamed with Bailey Humphrey quite a lot when Bailey went high half forward, trying to offset him. He had a real solid game there as well, attacking-wise as well. But this shows you the versatility of Saad. This does, that Saad can also do a defensive job, which is the big question mark on him from other fans. Carlton fans are wise. They know he can defend. But that was a tough job. When Bailey drops deep, Saad wasn't scared to get there and get the ball first. And a complete game from Saad, if not spectacular.
Yep. And that's why he's sitting there on a 6. Very good. The next player is Blake Acres. There on the wing. Don't know how I felt about Blake's game. I actually watched the replay this week. My perception of the game was it was just one of those games in this instance where there was a lot more center stoppage work happening, a lot of streaming through the middle of the ground. We used the corridor a lot. We didn't play too much of a wide game, and I thought someone like an Acres probably suffered for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Acres showed why we bought him this week. And in an ideal world, this is what we want from Acres. He'll drop deep. Drop deep. He allowed Newman, when he was on that side, he allowed Saad to go that side. You saw Cottrell is more of the offensive player because with Saad, they don't go bold both sides and they protect. Kind of like Man United in the 90s, noughties, David Beckham and Neville, one overlap, the other one slot in to allow that to happen. Akers sacrificed his game well. Again, though, with this wing, his score involvement and his offensive work, when he did have the opportunity, was way too safe. Too safe. And I don't want to pick on anyone, but there was times, particularly in that third quarter, Carlton started to exit this way because Gold Coast really packed that side where Carlton were attacking. So we had to go another option. He didn't take the game on, and he was one who I think took ages to get used to the fact Carlton were going to give it a go today. He was playing the percentages, and that'll ultimately harm him come Judgment Day.
Fair enough. Judgment Day is in, and he gets a 5. I think, where is he? Bussy boy. He knew it. Marty was on the money. Jinx. Tyler Shaw. He knows, mate. These people know. Patrick Crips. It's been a while since we've seen Crips play with that smile on his face, hasn't it? Got the ankle stepped on against Sydney, so that might have hindered the way he moved a little bit. I dare say he's probably still feeling it. I think it was interesting because this week Vossi made note of the fact that he just wasn't in form, and that we're going to back him in. He's important to what we do. Said the truth, and I think Crips, correct me if I'm wrong, Pom, but his score involvements were off the charts this week.
Return to Crips, mate. Return to Crips. And we've got to give a shout out to someone that allowed Crips to do this, and that is Mr. Tom Dekoning.
Right.
When we get to Tom, we'll talk about him a bit more, but Tom's selflessness to allow this gentleman to do what he did best really showed why Crips is a beast, because Crips is usually 3-on-1 over the last 3 weeks. TDK was willing to sacrifice his body to give his captain a fighting chance. And all it takes is Crips is just them moments. He took his goals amazingly, but we're judging him on just his pure output. But it was a solid Crips game. This is what Crips does. Crips eventually starts to punish you once he gets the ball. And it was death by 1,000 cuts because Crips was as close to a perfect game as you can get for what he does.
There it is, 7.5. Who got it? Andy John, Huss, Ayubi, Charles, or 7, yeah.
If you put a headband on him, he'd get 9.
Hyde, a couple of them. Yeah, no, he was great. It was good to see. Next up is Sam Dougherty. What the image in my head of this game with Sam Dougherty, and he's probably done it all, for the last few weeks as well, and always the way he plays is he kicks and he runs on and he provides himself as an available option for the person with the ball. Just keeps going. May not be the cleanest with disposal at times, but just keeps going. Doesn't stop.
100% as well. Tackle efficiency.
Wow.
So Doc, what he sees, he destroys. Do you know what I mean? He's like Ivan Drago in the Rocky movies. Whatever he hits, he kills. Workhorse, and Sam had a really important job this week. Was Crips's vice president, controlling in on the ball. Also went down the back and was the VP to Weitering as well. What I'm loving about Doc this week is it was a selfless role, selfless game, and he suits this game style. Carlton going through the middle, he was invariably that given to Matt Anderson nails it, the 1-2 option. He was that guy, the kick in, and he's straight away looking for that runner. Bang, hitting my runners. He was that conduit player, and that's Doc's best game. You don't want Doc kicking the ball per se. You want Doc dictating traffic. And in that third quarter, when we were under a bit of cosh, you saw Doc get the ball and he's demanding players to come short to him. He's like, nah, we're not going long again. We're playing this way. This is the way I like playing. So credit to Doc. That's a solid game. Him and Crips.
Very solid.
Leaders. That's leadership.
Well, we're starting to see Weitering, Crips, Doc, 7.5s. These guys have been hovering around 5, 4.5, 5.5 over the last few weeks. So I think now that we've seen a win, we're starting to see what it looks like and what the profile of this system looks like. So, great stuff for Dougherty. Wow, it's really interesting to say this guy's name after a game that we've played. David, first option Cunningham. I've got to say, listen, Charlie was one where it was like, you don't talk about Charlie Curnow because he's never going to come back and he's never going to be the same even if he did come back. I probably had less faith in Cunners, if I'm honest, just because the body, and I don't want to jinx him. So touch wood, whatever I need to do. I don't want to jinx it. But, mate, it felt like every time he had the ball, he knew exactly what he wanted to do with it before he even touched it. And it was just quick and instinctive.
No fucking about should be his nickname. Cunners, no fuck about Ingham. What a player. It was a very, very solid game from Cunners. If not spectacular, it was a good grounding. What really helped out with Carlton was his ability to force the link-up play, which no other player does. And what was great to see was the dimensions of the midfield with Walsh with Jarrah being predominantly on the ball, with Walsh this week. We had a lot more rotations than we've ever had under Voss at stoppage and clearance. And a big part of that is the three guys that came into the midfield weren't the type of footballers that kick long for the sake of it. They take the game on. And Cunners, every time he had the ball, bar 3 opportunities this week, he beat his first man, which is huge because it creates the overload. Carlton feasted on it. He's a natural footballer, and not many players have that intelligence.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I think he was managed a little bit because he didn't play full game. He did. He played 71%, but I still feel like, I mean, he's had 11 touches and he's not a high possession player, but he's an impact player. I think as we get 5, I don't want to talk too soon and look too far ahead, but 5-10 games into Cunners, we need him to be back on that trajectory of that 20, 23, 24 possession type player. But listen, there's a bit of context to this situation in that he's missed so much footy. So it's good to see him back and get through unscathed. So a 6 for Cunners. Yeah, fair. Cottrell is next. Maddy Cottrell. Now, I just looked at his stats and they are what they are. I thought he played very well. Did he get any points for the DDT?
I'd like to give him some more.
He's going to get away with it. He's going to be suspended for sure. But that was a fairly solid DDT.
I mean, his whole game, that is where you kind of, it's an interesting one because Hollands was preferred. There's no doubt about that. You understand why when you say that. He took his goals well, though, which is a huge thing, but he's got heart. He's got tenacity. It was a solid game from Cottrell as well. His link-up play is very, very good. And someone on the wing, we talked about it last week. If we're getting 4s from our midfield and we're getting 2s and 3s from our wings, you ain't winning fuck all. And we needed one of our wingers to step it up, and he did step it up. He took his opportunities when he had to and offered that spread. And I do love the fact that Carlton know they don't have natural wingers. They know that Akers is a converted halfback flanker, and they know we don't know what Cottrell is yet. He's kind of like a high half forward, but is he a wing? He's got a big engine. Yeah. It's clever how they rest him a little bit more forward, play a bit more defensive behind him, and then they fabricate the width with Saad and Akers on the other side. So it's quite smart how they do it. That's showing good coaching. If you ever want to give Voss some props, that's showing intelligence in the coaching box.
A 7, yeah, a lot of impact for Cunners, and yeah, obviously, for those who didn't grow up watching wrestling, a DDT is a wrestling move. So yeah, sorry if I confused you there. I just saw 5 minutes ago he's been offered a week, so we might talk about that at 7 p.m. But Jackson Binns, we'll get there in a minute. Harry McKay, 100 games on the scoreboard, kick straight. 3 goals. I'll tell you what, his first quarter was not much to be excited by. And that when you're watching the game and you think we're going to lose and you sink back in your chair, that moment came for me in the first quarter where he had a pretty uncontested mark and he dropped it. And it just was one of those moments that we've seen from him and a lot of the boys over the last few weeks. But to his credit, got back into the side, kicked 3 goals straight, helped turn the game on its head and got some good high quality looks, converted. Not his best game, but a big step in the right direction, I thought.
I like the fact he took the piss and took a snap in front of goal.
Yeah.
I got really excited in the watch along because I was like, if we're serious as a football club, there has to be a point. I remember saying it at the start of the watch along that we've just got to fuck everyone. Just go, you know what? Fuck it. This is what we're about. This is what we do. I snap goals. We win contested ball. We win stoppage. Fuck if it's pretty. This is what we do. And I thought that set the tone because we saw Voss go back to that F you, this is what we do.
Mhm.
And I liked Harry's game. It wasn't spectacular, but I tell you what, decent marks on the lead. He positioned himself well. We had the fourth quarter where both boys got a bit excited and we're like, oh, fucking hell, we're on here. And they started getting in each other's way. But the more he kicks goals, the better he'll feel and the better we will feel.
Yeah, and this point here, I really like it. When we were putting together the video edit on Instagram for his 100th game, if it's not working for Harry, he's got speed to chase and tackle, and I think this was a really good point that you made here, Tim, and that's something that he can control. His pressure is something that's in control. So, Harry, what do you get? 7.5. Love to see it. All right,
And Tim,
so that's
he got some
4 of them.
bonus points for the defensive work.
Okay, I like it. Charlie Curnow is next. Charlie, Pommy, what'd you make of Charlie as he's like number one ticket holder for Charlie Curnow?
Well, he's best player in the league. Gave a good moment where I got really excited when he took that absolute ripping mark and then decided to blaze it out of bounds. Cheers, Charlie. What Harry did defensively, what we score key forwards on, which is a big part. It's a very understated part, but you'll be surprised the amount of key forwards of the league that offer something. What Terry just alluded to there, if he's not kicking goals, you've got to find something else. Charlie, a lot of selfless leads, a lot of dummy leads. Big one as well, was involved in just about everything Carlton did score-wise, which is what you expect. Loose with the shots, though. And I don't want to be horrible, but we go back last year. You can blame Durden for missing that kick against Collingwood. You can blame all sorts of things for not making finals, but Charlie needs to hold his hand up and go, I could have taken the game or taken it a bit more serious and slotted through. And he did that a few times this week. You see the button in Charlie's brain, don't you? When Carlton win, he's kind of having fun out there. And I would love to see him curb that a bit, but I don't think you ever will do.
It's Charlie. That's why we love him. So he got a 7. Another milestone game. Tom Dekoning, chat. Give us your thoughts on Tom Dekoning coming up against Jared Witts, who is a hit-out He's a hit-out pig. He's a hit-out pig, Jared Witts.
Third best ruck in the league, statistically, Jared Witts.
There you go. So what'd you make of Tom's game? I actually thought it was one of his better games of his career, probably because hit the scoreboard.
Big thing for him is, I don't often say I told you so, right? But at the start, I did say he was wearing a proper fucking headband. So he was going to have the best game of his career. So those on the watch along will validate I did call it because I've complained about his headband the last 2 weeks, that it's been Mickey Mouse. This was a proper one. So that was good. Jokes aside, though, the big thing for me wasn't the marks. It wasn't his work rate around the ground. It was the first time I've seen TDK look in the mirror and go, fucking hell, I'm a big lad.
Yep.
I'm a big boy. And the reason that Crips did so good is last week Draper nailed Crips twice. The week before, Gorn got to Crips whenever he wanted, and Crips ended up versus him and Tracker. This week, TDK was like, nah, fuck off. You're not getting to my captain. And even though he lost the battle at times to Witts, he made sure Witts couldn't get to him. And it gave Crips that 5 seconds of space Crips needed. Last year, it was Hewitt doing that. It should be a ruckman. The ruckman did it. Absolutely brilliant from TDK. Hats off to him because he did AFL average for everything. Actually, AFL very good versus Witts. This is one of the better games we've seen versus Witts this year. And you know what? He terrorized Witts around the ground. Terrorized him, which This is what if TDK wants 800k, I'll play TDK 800k if he realizes I'm quicker than every ruck, I'm more athletic than every ruck, and you know what? I'm actually quite fucking big. Because if he does them three things, he's worth every damn cent 800k. Just need to see this now, not against Gold Coast. I want to see this against Collingwood. I want to see this against Hawthorn next week after. I want to see this against Melbourne, all these clubs. But this is what TDK, that's the hype. What you saw,
well,
that's
TDK. This is the standard, the way he played on yesterday. I think, and I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. This is the standard of play that I think he's just got to get to consistently. You know, I love that you mentioned the blocking and the shepherding. I thought it was a feature of the game for everyone, all throughout the midfield. A lot of handball shepherds, the basics, the fundamentals. When you train footy as a kid, you do those drills, you handball to whoever, and you always put your hands out and you shepherd. So great
the big
shout.
One for me, 2 minutes in, Jared Witts does what he does, where he taps it to himself. And TDK stood there and crunched him. And you saw Witts kind of go, what the fuck happened there?
Yeah.
Like you actually saw Witts go, hang about. He's not the little baby anymore. He's a man. And that turned me on. That was the only highlight in quarter one for me, was TDK making that tackle, because it was like, okay, you're not having your day this week. You've got competition. And he made Pitto look pants, TDK did. Well done, TDK. Loved every minute of his game.
Jack Martin, his next chat. Pommy, I'll be honest, before the game, I said to myself, well, Jack Martin, Mitch McGovern, Cunningham in the same team. I don't remember the last time it's happened. And I just hope that all three can get through. But Jack shows, he just, what's the word? Is it enigma? He just shows, like, you get frustrated when he doesn't play. And I'm sure Jack gets frustrated when he doesn't play because he's injured. Then he comes on, and then you see the poise and the control. First quarter, where he set up Jarrah's goal, I think. Didn't fly for the ball that Harry was flying for. Stayed down, intelligent, bit of a sidestep, and then he picks out a player in our forward 50, kicks it on his left, and you're like, okay, that's why we need Jack Martin. Things like that.
The high half forward position is probably the most important position in AFL. It's the easiest position to find a player, but now it is a position that genuinely everyone has a player like Jack Martin, who he's going to be a 10 out of 10 or he's going to be a 1 out of 10, right? And you get the pressure elsewhere. The way this team was formulated, brilliant, because you had players who were willing to put their head over the ball in the forward line that allow him to do it. JSOS's advantage over this guy is pressure acts, right? You're not going to get them from Jack Martin. But what you are going to get is you had two great examples, if you ever want to see the argument between you can only play one, JSOS or Jack Martin, why Jack Martin wins every day if you want to win football games. The first goal we set up, when the ball was overcooked, missed him. It was a horrible kick to him. He ran, knew the ball wasn't going to go out of bounds, and straight away he turned his man and hit it straight back in board, hit the target count and scored a goal. And then working front and centre, knew the mark wasn't going to be taken, took the man on, and then delivered it on a sixpence again for another goal assist. That's why you have him, because that was probably one of the better 8-touch games you'll see. And that's all he needs. He only needs that. And then when he's got forwards actually tackling, doesn't matter. And always go back to Paul Popolo's conversation if you ever get a chance to see it. He talked about Clarkson, the biggest bollocking he ever had. He had 2 goals. Clarkson tore him a new arsehole because his job was to tackle so Cyril kick goals. It wasn't his job. And that's why you have a Jack Martin. So if he can stay fit, that's what Jack Martin can do. It's the if, though. But I enjoyed his game. It was average game for output for what you expect from that position. But that is what you want. You want your 6s, your 7s coming from this guy. If he had a few goals, that could have been an 8 or 9.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's obviously also played the 3 quarters. So there is that. Ur, thank you very much for the 20. He says, love the show. And Lana's right. The show loves you. Absolutely. Next up is Pitto. Back in the side, looked like a guy that had just come back and I guess the need to have him there was going into the game. You don't know how Tom's going to go against Wits. So before the game happens, it kind of made sense. Probably wasn't his best game. But again, big body there. Pommy, what do we think? Chat, what do you think of Pitto?
Well, he had one glove, like Michael Jackson. And in my opinion, he was bad. It's clever. If you're old enough, you know.
Very...
It wasn't the best work from Pitto. Ruck-wise, it was poor, to be fair. And I think he would say that. He definitely looked hurt as well because he was doing something different with his taps as well. I've never seen him tap like that, but he was going double-handed. And, yeah, it was a weird one. Defensively, he was poor. Around the ground, we always say that. Some nice little moments when they slotted him forward of centre. Interesting enough, but yeah, it's not. Didn't have a thriller. Hey, Matt, you're getting involved. Good work. It wasn't any good.
Fair. All right. Where is he? Pitto. It was a 4. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Adam Jarrah. This was the old system. We'd probably be giving him 10s and 11s every week. Just continues on. It's just consistent. It's just consistency from Jarrah. And I think this week, the addition of the goals was I'm interested to see how he's rewarded with that, with his score.
He's got the highest score ever in this system.
Today?
Spoiler.
Wow.
But Chesney, love this kid. Honestly. And you know what was good is last week I said, if he is your highest rated midfielder, because he, in my opinion, he is an icing on the top player. Everything needs to work. And then suddenly you'll be like, oh, fuck yeah. What a footballer. If he's the only player outputting, you're cooked. Because his skill set is when the hard work has been half done. And tell you what, you saw Jarrah this week. He was just everywhere. The haircut looks good.
Mate, the haircut.
Looks good. Oh, there's something about him, innit? I just look at Adam Jarrah and there's a stirring in my loins. You know what I mean? 3 score launches from the back half of the ground, 9 scoring involvements, 4 shots at goal on himself. His inside 50 rates to conversion, it was 52% of his inside 50s became scores. That's huge. And they were deep entries. I love Chesney. He's my boy. Yeah. I love Ches.
I do too. I love a player that shaves his head. Love a player that shaves his head. All right, let's see. So you said the biggest score ever in this system. Wow. Okay, can you just run through how hard it is to get an 8.5 and why he got an 8.5 and what he had to tick, what boxes he had to tick? Because that is incredible.
You're looking at
no emotion and no mayo put on this.
No emotion. You're looking at the numbers have to be all in elites to get 8. And then you've got to get into the top half of elite. So what elite by AFL standards is the top 10%. You're looking at the top 5%. So you're talking rare as rocking horse poo. 10s in this system, we're looking at God's thumbprint almost. But this guy rated elite defensively and attacking wise. If you watch my previews, we've started explaining defense rating, overall rating, and attacking rating because there's different things. But his attacking rating was elite. His inside 50 is the conversion of them into becoming scoring opportunities. Then you look at his on ball work, 63% contested ball is insane when you're creating so much as well. Because usually when you have a high contested ball rate, you're just winning contested ball. This guy converted them. A lot of 1-2s as well. So you actually find a lot of his possessions were him giving it out to receive it back and getting ahead of the play, which Connors was a big part of that. I absolutely adore this guy. And if Carlton want to play this way, which is one-wood football, Chesney's going to thrive. And yeah, shaved head. We need to change that picture. I like him with a shaved head.
Yeah, we got to get him with a shaved head for sure. Sam Walsh was next. Bit down on his, not on his ability to win the ball over the last few weeks, but probably his impact. And again, the image of Sam Walsh in this game for me is just streaming out of the midfield. It looked like Sam Walsh again. I know he's still quite early in his career, but it looked like the Sam Walsh that we have come to expect. Thought he was pretty solid.
Interesting, Carlton, we talked about had more rotations in stoppage and clearance than any time under Michael Voss, which is interesting. Almost mirrored the first 6 rounds last year. A big part of this was Walsh's role. Last year, you saw Walsh do the double back role round there, and we talked about him becoming almost like the quarterback when we were 8-2. New movement this week. It was Jarrah doing that, and Walsh actually had the Jarrah role last year where he kind of went anonymous, but I actually think this is Walsh's best role. People talk about him being contested and all that nonsense. I think you're looking at a guy that is a lot better away from problems because his ability to get the ball and extract it and hit targets is second to none, and they're always dangerous. This is why when Binns comes in, you're not allowed to criticize his poor disposal efficiency because everything he does is aggressive. Same with Walsh. He always takes the harder option. Not always the right option, but he takes the more difficult one. But very good player. Very, very good. Like Matt says, shout out to Ben as well. You nailed Jarrah's score. That's impressive, mate. Ben Lothberg. You're good at this.
He did. Walsh. So there's another 7.5. I believe that's 5 of them now. So there you go. Matt Kennedy was next. Can you run through Matt Kennedy and what he did in his role? Because I feel like I saw him a lot more as a midfielder this week than what we've seen the last few weeks. Maybe that was just the eye test.
This was old school Mr. Hewitt.
Uh-huh.
This was George Hewitt's role. Identical. Finally, don't know if it was by design or if Voss has been trying to try something. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've seen a lot of players play this role, particularly Doc. Kennedy has been given the responsibility, and there's no surprise that Crips has had his highest score and a few other players had because he just sees ball, executes ball. Also, front of centre, Andy nails it. We saw him move a little bit more forward. A lot of rotations, and I think accidentally, because we had the team, you actually saw how we can play the game style last year for long term and win long term because it was so hard. Once they got that kind of ascension on us, which they did in the third quarter, Carlton started to roll the dice. Connors came on the ball. Fogerty came on the ball. And you saw Gold Coast couldn't quite get used to it. They were like, well, hang about. Shit, Connors is fast. He's faster than Kennedy. Oh, no, Kennedy's now up forward. And you saw it create chaos. I really enjoyed it. And Kennedy just is reliable. Kennedy, this is the perfect midfielder for the system. That is your lowest acceptable midfield mark. They all should be 6.57s.
There you go. And 7 it was. Next up, another name I did not expect to be calling out to play a game for us. Honestly, I did not think he'd play another game for us. I thought he'd be gone. Lockie Fogerty. And my memory of Lockie Fogerty in this game, and the thing that keeps coming in my memory, is always at the drop of the fucking ball. Always there. And he's not a small forward. I guess he's played a smallish forward type role. Can play in the midfield. At times I saw him helping out in defense. Mate, a bit more experience in the system. And like the other guys will get some praise and the attention like Cunningham and these types. But listen, fair play to Lockie Fogerty for getting himself back in the side. I thought he was solid. Now,
some people may be disappointed with his rating. And amazingly, I can see a few people have nailed it. But what you're looking for here is just remember, your small forwards should always be average. Always be average. And in Carlton's system, Stengel averages 6.1 last year. He was All-Australian. That's high because they're either kicking goals or they're providing something defensively, right? That's the two roles, and they're solely dependent on your key forwards and your midfielders not snagging. Last week, you all complained, oh, he's got 6. And I said, that's not a great game. He's just done his job, right? Fogerty's just done his job. And he's done his job incredibly well. 2 tackles, one of them was pinged, resulting in a shot goal. Pressure act's really strong. But unlike Zumba squad, actually did his job. So this isn't a fraudulent 5. This is an actual small forward, pinch hitting in the midfield when they needed him, doing his fucking job. Absolutely love Fog. For me, Durden and Motlop have got a problem. You can't get back in the side if this guy is doing it.
Fair. That's good to see. Cincotta, the dash, starting to get a bit of confidence, isn't he, in his game? The MCG looks to be a really good ground for him. Open air, salt of the earth type stuff. Back at the Hello Turf. Yeah, another one. I think someone wrote the word useful. Who wrote that? Brian wrote the word useful. I think Cincotta was very useful in this game.
He is. It's a tough role here because Carlton have really got their system down pat. So you've got Saad, foot speed. You've got Newman playing that awkward role. Just being awkward, being hard to beat. And then you've got 2 other guys, Boyd and Cincotta, and they're kind of like almost, I want you to think of them as how Voss likes them as the auxiliary version of the other one. So Boyd is more like a replacement Newman. Cincotta is more like the replacement, if you want, I hate using this phrase because it sounds harsh, is the Audi Saad. The Audi Saad, right? And they play it in spurts. So this is where you're looking at 5.5s and 5s because they're not getting the full benefit of being primary ball users. But again, Boyd and Cincotta are phenomenal at just being average in the terms of they just tick every box, which allows the others. And Cincotta, interesting enough, I think there's a great argument to drop Cowan. I mean, to bring Cowan in for a McGovern, because if I was McGovern, I'd be very worried about Cowan's role in the VFL because suddenly this might get a bit more out of them. And if I was Voss, I reckon having Cincotta and Boyd with a bit more ball could be beneficial for our system.
Fair. Let's have a look. 5. Fair. We've got 2 more, and then we're going to wrap it up. I can't wait for the BA show, just quietly. Matt Owies. He's next. Talk to me about Matt Owies.
Matty Owies. The fans bully me for Matt Owies.
I know.
He always bullied me, but Matt Owies doing Matt Owies things. What you're judging a small forward on is one of them's got to kick a goal. You're looking to be front and centre, which he was, in fairness. A return to form in the terms of tackling, 6 tackles that would, but taking a lot of tackles, chasing players. First time I've seen it is so easy to exit rebound 50. He got 6 tackles. They've never done. Usually we stand there and go, see ya. Thanks. Always did that. And always took his goal well, took his scores well, was thereabouts. 66.7% ratio, 3. Gave it out as well. So very solid. These 2 work well. Fogerty and always work well. I think we need another one.
I like it. 6 again. Yeah, fair enough. I liked it. He won his 9 or 10. He won his 9. Had the 6 tackles, kicked a couple of goals. I thought that's the holy trinity for a small forward as well. Paddy Dow, the final player. Paddy Dow. I'll tell you what. At the start of the year, when people was, we all say it, he's put on size. I didn't see it with Paddy. Now when I watch him play, he's got this physicality starting to emerge with him, which I'm really happy about. And another one who has just continued to go at it. All the external will say, oh, it's unfair, it's cruel, why isn't he playing? And some of it might be valid, but he just keeps showing up. He just keeps going for it. He doesn't complain. He doesn't play like a player that's complaining and sooking it up. And I think this has been it's really weird comment, but I think he's impressed me more in this batch this year than ever in his career because He's been made to do it not only the hard way, but the hardest way. And he doesn't play like a guy that drops his head. And I think that's a credit to him and his attitude.
Mate, share your sentiments massively. I think he's been very, very hungry. He's added layers. When he's come on, he hasn't shirked. He's gone hard. Very hard to judge as well, because playing a quarter, it's hard to judge. Could he sustain that for 4 quarters?
Yeah.
So it's always a tough one. But nah, he's kept his head held high. His head held high, and that's all you can respect. And people talk about the togetherness of the group. I think a lot of people take the piss a little bit, saying, "Oh, the players will be upset because Dell's not playing." I don't see that, because the way he's acting is not a man who looks like he'd be disjointing the dressing room. He looks like he's trying to provide an output when he can have an opportunity, and he's doing all he can. He's doing all he can, but I do think we were one less midfielder down this week, and I think it's no surprise why we did well, because we had more versatile players to play on the ball. So it's an interesting one what we do with Dell.
Fair. There is one more. Thank you for reminding me. It was McGovern. So McGovern's the final player. Chat, let us know. I'll give you 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Thank you, Marty. I've got you covered. Don't worry about that, mate. We've got you over here. BA. Pommy's got it all sorted. Mitch McGovern. Pommy, some words on Mitch's game.
Interesting one, because Ken, it was actually by structure, Ken took over that second intercept position. That was one of the structural changes in the first quarter, that Voss switched them round. And you saw Ken flourish, and McGovern went to a more negating role. Tough one from him, because you feel like he could be better. It looks like Ken has got that hunger, where McGovern, it feels like it's there, but it's not. It was a solid game, and he took his opportunities well, but you're expecting from a man like him 7.5s, 8s, and it was Mr. Kemp that had them high ratings.
There you go. So that's Mitch. Those are the ratings. I just want to put the team's ratings up. So for those of you that were here last week and the week before, picture the greens and the oranges and the reds last week in a profile of a team that lost. So this is what our round 14 looks like. So straight away, you're looking at, where you have those 4s and 3s that we had last week. We were saying last week, you need to have guys that are having 7.5s, 8s to counterbalance the ones that are not performing well. Whereas we didn't have a player below a 4. So that's a somewhat a tick. And we had quite a few players perform above, or sort of thereabouts / above. And then also last week, the midfield scored pretty low, whereas today they score very much, pretty solid, all of them, right?
Yeah, midfield was spectacular. The midfield engine room is the one that we talk about all the time. And the engine room this week was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's it. Those are the round 14 player ratings. Thanks for being here. Now, you got 7 minutes to enter the competition. The link's in the chat on YouTube. Go pour yourself a cup of tea, strap in, because the BA show is going to be a lot of fun tonight, and we cannot wait to bring it to you. Pommy, mate, this thing has revolutionized the player ratings. So thank you for bringing it on, and thank you for those that have been patient with it, and you're now starting to understand the system. I can tell in the chat you're starting to pick up on it, and told you so. All right. Bye, everyone. See you in 6 minutes.